Yo, what's up, Facebook? Hey, I'm just kind of kicking back here, man. And I was actually talking to my wife, and she was saying that one of the big things about what I do and how I actually help people. She said that's actually awesome because it actually helps people a lot. And the key is, dude, this kind of, there's a bunch of tactics out there, right, that you can fix your finances and things like that. But one of the things that I actually do focus on is showing people a few things. Number one, I can show you all the tactics in the book. I can show you everything that you need to do from a tactical perspective. But the real deal is, where are you going, what are you trying to do, and what are your goals are actually trying to accomplish. And that's the key, man. I'm not, one of the things that my wife, she always says about is how you get in depth in it, and how you get in tune with it, and how you get in tune with other people and figure out really how to provide value to them. Because, so many people, especially the gurus, they're going to say budget, they're going to say cut your lifestyle, they're going to say do all those things to really fix your finances. But really, it kind of boils down to several things that I've seen many times make people fail in, personal finance, and that's really where people have to understand where they're going for. And I'm going to drop a couple little tips here. I ain't going to take long, but I want to kind of give you guys this because, like I say, you can thank my wife, Miss Crystal Anderson, because she wanted me to share this with you guys here tonight. But here's the thing. Number one, you have to understand that when you're speaking about money and you're speaking about finance, it doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many, how many websites you go to. It doesn't matter how many ebooks you get. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff. The key that you have to understand is that you have to approach it just like any other topic, any other subject that you just don't know anything about. And that's fine. The system was set up that way. You can go through, all the way to 12th grade and, you get to a point to where you never learn anything about business, money, capitalism, and finance. You see what I'm saying? So you're not set up to a point that you even know anything about money. And it's fine. I was going through my journey of learning this stuff and putting it out there, and, I noticed that, dude, there's a whole other thing about finances I don't know. And we're just talking about personal finance. I ain't getting into corporate finance, just personal finance. And it's set up like that for a reason. It's set up like that for a reason. I'm not going to go into tonight, but it's set up like that for a reason. So where we want to go with things is this. Number one, approach it with the mindset that you need to learn. Okay? You need to learn, you need to learn, you need to learn. I got one of these. Do I even have it around me? Yeah, I got one. I give out like some of these American finance brochures every single day because I know that individuals just do not know about finances. And once they start learning, it's just like learning a new process. It's just like learning something new. You start picking up and you start grasping and you start noticing things that you didn't notice before. And then that's when you can really start to fix yourself financially. Now, number two is this, and this is going to sound kind of bold, and some people are not going to agree with me on this, but I'm going to keep it 100% real with you guys, is that you can't approach fixing the situation by believing that you can't get out of the situation. And this is what I mean. Let's take, for instance, the health and wellness space. The one thing that stops people from losing weight is saying that, hey, I can't lose any weight. So when you approach with that mindset and you say, hey, I'll never be able to fix my finances. I'm always going to be broke. I never can get ahead. What's another one? You guys type in some of them that you guys know out there. I never can get ahead. I never seem to pay my bills on time. I never seem to catch a break. When you start actually saying those things, you kind of getting what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you kind of putting yourself just up to failure. So really, in the essence of itself, you have to get the point that an individual, your individualistic mindset is really what's going to push yourself forward. I don't think that, I don't think that anybody's going to fail at personal finance, but I do understand that, I do understand this, is that if you say you can't do something, you ain't going to do it. It's just that simple. So that's the second thing that people really have to understand. And this, like I said, this ain't tactical. This is more mindset. This is more approaching the situation. Number three, you have to understand that you have to be so diligent, and you have to approach it like really like a surgeon when you're ready to clean up your finances. I mean, it has to have your sole focus. It has to be your 100% obligation. It has to be your 100% goal. It is something that you have to do in order to get it squared away, you know. I can't speak about that enough. I mean, you need to know where like every penny's going, every dollar's going, where every bill is going, and that is the truth. Because so many times we take it upon ourselves that, hey, you know, number one, we understand it as our money, right? But then number two, we don't want to take responsibility for it. It's just like when somebody got some badass kids or something. They, you know, it's their kids. They need to take responsibility for it. They need to take care of them. And so many times people put themselves in a position where they think that somebody else is going to fix their finances. It's not going to happen. So once you start learning, you know what I'm saying? Once you start flipping your mindset and saying, I can actually fix it, now you need to get to the mindset that say, okay, I'm fully responsible for what's going on. You know, nobody forced you to mess up your finances. Like I tell so many people over and over and over again, hell, you might spend 20 years jacking up your finances and going through bankruptcies and all those things like that, and then you expect that somebody else is going to fix it. It don't work like that. You might spend 5 years, 6 years, 7 years just recovering, getting yourself back on point, because that is what you need to do. So you got to get super duper diligent. You got to get super duper anal. You got to be like so pristine down to the dollar. I mean, it's a habit for me now. It's probably a little bit of my OCD kicking in, but you know, down to the penny, you know, you should know how much money you got going in, going out. And that's what we're talking about as far as cash flow. That's going to be the fourth tip I'm going to drop tonight. Focus on cash flow 100%. Almost cussed. Forget everything else that people talk about, you know, about income, about, you know, even I talk about debt and taxes and all that stuff, which all that stuff is true. But forget all that stuff. Focus on one thing, is cash flow. That's how much money coming in and how much money is going out and how much is flowing through your hands and your household. That's it. That's all that matters, because most people will be perfectly fine if they only had, you know, say 30, 40, maybe even $50,000 of positive cash flow in their lifestyle. They'd be perfectly fine. They wouldn't need any more money than that. You know, if they had very little taxes, they really didn't pay out a lot in debt, and, you know, they kind of worked their job, did whatever they did that they actually enjoyed, they would need about $50,000 in cash flow. That's about $4,000 or so like that a month. They'll be able to take care of their lifestyle. They'll be able to have fun. They'll be able to travel. They'll be able to do everything that they needed to do with very, 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 very little minimum cash flow. So really overall, that's one thing that we really have to understand. Is just simple cash flow. You know, if you got X amount of dollars coming in, how much is actually going out, and then how much you actually get to keep. You know, what can you use the extra money for? See, that's the key that we have to understand. Too many times I see people worried about bills, and, you know, even some people, even some of the savvy people, investments, and, you know, they save this much and save that much. Well, all that stuff is important, but really it's all about cash flow. It's about, look, how much money I got coming in and how much money I got going out. So to recap, you know, we said you got to flip the mindset. Number one, understand you don't know a lot about money. Understand it. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's a subject that you need to learn about. I mean, people take up careers in finance, in personal finance. So just a bit that you need to learn a little bit more. Number two, you got to actually start flipping your mindset and believe that you can actually fix your finances. That's number one. You got to believe. But then number three here, if we're talking about the strategy, is that you have to be super duper anal with your money. You got to pay so much attention to it. You got to pay so much love for it, because I'll tell you what, man, cash is a jealous lover, and if you don't actually keep paying attention to it, somebody gonna come and take it and make more love to it than you will. And like I say, guys, you know, when you talk about number four, it's all about cash flow. It's all about cash flow. They say that the median for the income level for like a happy life in America is gonna be somewhere around like $75,000. That's it. Not six figures, not $1 million. You know, $75,000 of good cash flow in your household will take care of your life, take care of your vacation, pay for your health insurance, put your kids through school, do whatever you need to do, live yourself a decent house. If you have, like I say, very straightforward little expenses and, you know, well, I'll say moderate expenses, and you pay very little taxes, you'll be perfectly fine. So when I hear people struggling, it really hurts my heart. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't take that much. It really doesn't take that much effort. It really takes more discipline and more control of your behaviors than it actually do like the physical finance portion. It's just about having the discipline. It's just about 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 3, 3 + 3 = 4, and that is so important that so many people miss. But the problem is, just like with everything else in the world that seems to go bad, from infidelity, from divorce, from crime, all those things like that, it's just basically a decision based upon what you want to do. And one of the things that I've implemented in my life is I made sure that I've always put the focus on, what's the end goal, what's the target, what's the objective that I'm trying to do, and drive myself based upon that to say, okay, how I'm going to stay diligent from step to step to step to step to step to step for increasing my finances. Now, here's the thing. That's how I drive myself. I drive myself by saying straight up that I have to, I think, Sue, I understand. I'm glad that you see that, man. I'm glad you're getting that. I drive myself by goals, I drive myself by goals, by target on the wall. I like shooting for targets, shooting for targets, shooting for targets, shooting for targets. But here's the thing. Everybody might not be like that. Some people drive themselves on the reward system, and that's how they stick to what they have to do. So your target might be, okay, if I save this, do this, and I stick to my budget, do whatever I'm doing in my finances to increase it, even if it's just learn more about finances. You might say, okay, I might take my wife out on a date this Friday. You might be driven for that. You see what I'm saying? You might be driven to move your target to that. You might be a person that might be more driven by the acquisition, to show growth. So you might be a person that say, okay, if I do great in my finances, I might buy myself something, something materialistic or an investment, or, I might put my money into something that's going to generate me more income. That's fine. Whatever your target is, you have to understand where you have to go. And, I can spit all the tactics out. I can spit, how to cut taxes, how to invest, what to pick up, what not to pick up, and that's fine. But I think that the personal finance industry is just inundated with tactics, It goes back to what the bare root, what the bare, like the bare bones problem is. And it's really those things that I stated, Number one, just admit that you don't know a lot about finances. We all don't know. Everybody at some point didn't know anything about anything. Okay, you came out of your mama's stomach. You didn't know anything. You weren't an expert in everything. Especially with finances. It's really a complicated system, and it was made that way because we just weren't taught that. So number one, admit that you don't know anything about finances. Number two, just believe that you can fix your finances. Number three, get very super anal about your finances down to the penny. Number four, understanding cash flow. And then after that, set yourself a target and hold yourself accountable, whether it's using goals, whether you're using acquisition of things, whether you're using, reward system, whatever you need to do. Those are the 5 tips that I say that a person needs to actually do, and they can start fixing their finances, because every single quarter, every person that I've helped with this and they have implemented this strategy has really increased their finances within, 30, 60, 90 days. And whether it be, okay, I actually have an emergency fund now. That's huge for people. 47% of people don't have any money saved, and they said over 60% of people don't even have $400 saved. So people can get a couple $1,000s saved. They're already beating out the mass majority just on emergency fund. Then once they move behind that, they can start eliminating their debt. 3 to 7 years, we totally debt free. See, that's where you have to go with it. See, I'm going to close on this, guys, and I appreciate everybody who jumped on, but seriously, this is the deal. In capitalism, the only way that capitalism can work, the only way it can work, hear me out, the only way that capitalism can work is that if 95+% of the people out there has no idea how it works, that's the only way that other people can be capitalized upon, whether it be in resources, finance, land, property, money, health. That's the only way it can work. Capitalism only works in an economic society where the mass majority does not understand how it works. Hence the name of why it's called capitalism. Anything wrong with it? No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that the system is set up for you not to know anything about it. But in of itself, if you live in America, you live in a capitalist society. So you can either play the game, change your jersey, and understand what's going on, or you just sit on the sidelines and keep getting screwed. So that's my time, guys. My wife said I should share that with you guys because she thinks that's really powerful in the mindset that I think when it comes down to this. And we're going to finish chilling out our knife and enjoying our time. So remember, guys, here's the thing. Make sure that you make quality time and not quantity time. So I'm going to hang out with my wife. All right, y'all. Peace.